Is partner betrayal trauma abuse? That's our question today, and we're going to take this one slowly because it's a big question. If you've experienced partner betrayal trauma, you have experienced trauma, and that's valid. We're going to dig into this. If you've yet to subscribe to our channel, you really want to do that because we have so much on partner betrayal trauma, so much research, so much information, and so much validation that you did not cause this, you did not deserve this, and you can heal from this. If you have a question about this or any of our topics, please put a question in the box. We get back to you as soon as humanly possible. This topic is so loaded with emotions. Any man or woman who has experienced sexual addiction, if finding out that your spouse is into porn or other kind of sexual visual stimulation that does not involve you in any way, who has experienced sexual addiction, experienced infidelity where your spouse has physically cheated, and had sex with someone of the opposite gender, same gender, someone you know, someone you don't know, it doesn't really matter. The pain of infidelity is huge. And also someone who, as a husband or wife, who you have experienced intimacy anorexia, you have been starved spiritually, emotionally, and sexually for years or decades. That also is partner betrayal trauma, because in all three of these cases, they violate the marriage covenant. They violate the understood agreement if you're in a primary relationship. And those agreements are very similar. We promise to forsake all others. So those who experience sexual addiction or infidelity, well, they have others, whether the others are images or the others are real people. But there's the other part of the marital agreement, and that is to love, honor, and cherish. Now, in the first part, forsaking all others, you're saying, I commit to being faithful to you, excluding all others. And the other three promises in that understanding is that you are saying, I commit before everyone here, or just between us, that I'm going to be faithful towards you. I'm going to love you, I'm going to honor you and I'm going to cherish you. And all of those are proactive. All of those are intentional. All of those say, I'm going to move towards you. So for the man or woman who's experiencing intimacy anorexia, you haven't been moved towards. You feel unwanted, confused, rejected, abandoned, neglected, and all of those are valid. Now, the word abuse is a very charged word. And so let's kind of parse this a little bit. And not because your pain is invalid in any way. Your pain is valid. If you've been hit by a car, it doesn't matter if the person was intentionally doing it or unintentionally doing it. You've been hit by a car. And would you say that you've been abused in that accident? Yes, you would. You would say you've been abused either by that person intentionally or unintentionally. So the results of your scars and you're having to go to the hospital and experiencing that, you would call that abuse. In that same way, you experiencing addiction of another person that maybe you didn't know they had an addiction, you would experience abuse. If you've been cheated on, you would have experienced abuse. If you've experienced intimacy anorexia for years and decades, you have experienced a form of abuse. Now, the other person may or may not be aware of that. They may or may not be mature enough, because if you have an active addiction with intimacy anorexia and sexual addiction, those are active addiction process. One is addicted to withholding from you, and the other is addicted to acting out with self or others. And infidelity, the same thing. So you definitely have experienced that. Now, the addiction people are not necessarily spiritually, emotionally, or morally mature enough to know that they're abusing you. So they are unaware, or they are unable until they get some sobriety to even have empathy for the pain and trauma and devastation to your world that they have caused. You experience abuse. They are disconnected in a disassociated state, whether it's with pornography or if it's with withholding, or if it's with another person. And so they are not going to say, I abused you right up front. It may take 8 months to a year of them actively working a recovery program. And if they're not doing that, it can be many, many years, until they get mature enough to take responsibility for what you're experiencing as abuse. The neglect is abuse day in, day out. The acting out, keeping the other person immature, or having a secret relationship with self or a secret relationship with others, that's traumatizing when it comes to light. And you definitely have experienced abuse, not only in that moment, but in the circumstances of their immaturity throughout the whole relationship. So, but when you go to tell them you've abused me, I'm not sure you're going to be understood. And it's not because they're not trying to hear you. It's because they're not mature enough to know that you are in pain. And that does take them working a program, being in a group, doing some counseling. And if they're not doing any of that, they can call the counseling center heart to heart at 719-278-3708. And whether they do the work or not, your trauma is real. You've been hit by that car. You do need some care and some attention. And don't wait for the other person to decide that you're in pain. Don't wait for the other person to decide that you've been abused or neglected or both. You need to take the active steps you need to, whether that's doing an intensive, whether that's doing an intensive with a neuromodulation because your brain has been traumatized as well. That is the best results we've seen, combining those two things. Or you want to do some phone counseling first, or get in a phone group. Absolutely. If you've experienced partner betrayal trauma, our research shows that all three of those population, the statistics on PTSD, depression, self-esteem, sexuality, etc., are almost identical. So if you've been neglected, you've experienced the same thing as someone who's cheated on you because they have been married to themselves, not married to you. And so you need care. And it's best to get intelligent care. People who've been certified by the American Association for Sex Addiction Therapy on partner betrayal trauma. They've gone through 45 hours of training, 6 months of supervision, and they've been in practice many times for years. So you want to get care no matter what. You don't need the other person to say you've been abused to know that you've been abused. You don't need even a clinician to say that you've been abused. You know that you've been abused. You've experienced abuse. Understand, if you're going to work on the relationship, that word's going to have a lot of loaded stuff, and just be aware of that. Does it minimize your pain? No, it just doesn't. It may not get you what you want in the relationship. For them to own the pain they caused you, they need about 8 to 12 months of real sobriety, real recovery. Now, while they're getting that done, and we have a Helping Her Heal video. If they're anorexic, we have a video called Helping My Spouse Heal from My Intimacy Anorexia. They can be working that information as well to help you heal in the process if they truly want to maintain the relationship. And if they are a sex addict and they have or infidelity, they can do polygraphs during their therapy process to be able to verify to you that they are sincerely faithful to you. With the intimacy anorexia, the exercises they do in their recovery towards you will tell you if they're being sober or not. There is hope. I have seen thousands of partner betrayal trauma, women, mostly women and some men, all heal, but they have to do their own work. Be in a group, do the workbooks. Depending if it's an addiction, I would recommend the partner recovery set. If it's really the trauma that you're dealing with, that's a slice of the partner recovery, then get the partner betrayal trauma book or video and the workbook. And if it's an intimacy anorexia, start with the married and alone. And also then you could put in the partner betrayal trauma in that series as well. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope it's been validating. You didn't deserve this. You didn't see it coming. You couldn't have seen it coming. Okay, their secret world is their secret world. The intimacy anorexia, you don't even experience it until after marriage. So there's no way that you could have been responsible to know that you would be neglected. Now take your own journey. Don't give the power of your future to someone who is not being kind to you. You have to be your own hero early in the process. And if they come alongside of you and value you and start protecting you and doing things they need to do, we can have a restored relationship if you so choose. I would recommend you talk to somebody. Call the office, 719-278-3708, and get some professional, intelligent help. Do not go to a generalist if you are experiencing partner betrayal trauma. You will be possibly misunderstood, possibly blamed, and possibly called a co-addict or something like that, and you don't deserve that. You deserve the respect of being traumatized. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss, and I really want you to know that we care about you. If you have a question, put it in the box. If you've yet to subscribe, please do that.